All right, Shalom, Israel, Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right, it's in His name, in the name of His only begotten Son, that we do everything that we do. All right, all these classes, all these videos, we want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God in the name of His only begotten Son. All right, today's class is going to be called "It's About to Go Down." It's about to go down. Pay attention. All right. Pay attention, man. You got to be paying attention to what's going on right now. Let me share my screen real quick. You got to be paying attention to what's going on right now. Right. It's a lot going on, back to back events taking place within the last few days. All right. Within the last few days. Hold on. Let me pull up YouTube real quick. And then let me get this precept in the book of Second Ezra. Second Esdras chapter 9. You got so much going on in the world, taking place all over the world, right? What the Lord said. He said, He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, right? What does that part right there mean? In itself. Meaning you can look at the times, you can look at the things going on in the time that you're living in, and you can measure what time you're living in by what's taking place. All right. It says, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. The Lord is visiting the world which he made. You understand? He's doing that right now. Right now. He says, therefore, when thou shalt see, there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, meaning earthquakes, which is happening every day. It used to be an earthquake. I remember growing up, being a kid, and an earthquake was like not an everyday thing. It wasn't an everyday thing that was taking place. Big earthquake. It was like not normal for a 7.0, 8.0. Those was like not common, right? Those were not common. They common now. They like taking place every single day. You understand? It says and uproars of the people in the world, then thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. You understand? This is what makes the Bible the Bible. This is what makes the Bible the credible book that it is. This is what makes it different from any other book on the face of the planet. This is the only book in the world that has prophecy in it. This is how you know, for anybody that's got a doubtful mind, a mind that they not sure if the Lord is real. All you got to do is start to study prophecy. You start to look into prophecy and you will understand that this Bible is alive. It's real. These things was written down thousands of years ago and they taking place now. They taking place right now, right? Let's go to the book. Matter of fact, let me show y'all something on here real quick. Let's go to YouTube. It's a couple videos I want to watch, man. I seen these and I said, golly, bro. Look at what's going on, man. Hold on 1 second. Well, let's go to YouTube real quick. So World War III, it's as good as happening. As good as they might as well have just gone ahead and announced it, right? I don't know if y'all are understanding lately. Within I think that was yesterday, the day before yesterday, right? Putin had a drone attack on Poland, all right, or what they deemed as an attack. All right. Poland is a part of NATO. All right, let me pull this video up. All right. Fair use. I don't own the rights to this video. Fair use. All right. I don't own the rights to this video. This is for educational purposes only.
They don't believe how toxic this is. If you're still using a plastic or wooden cutting board, you need to hear this.
Welcome to the show. Major foreign policy news with potentially catastrophic implications today. Something light to start the show with, right? For the first time since Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, a NATO country has fired in self-defense. What happened is that Poland says 19 drones entered its airspace during a Russian strike on Ukraine. Polish forces shot down those that posed a threat. This is not like a minor border incident the way we've sometimes heard about and read about. Poland's prime minister says this is a large-scale provocation. It has triggered Article 4 of the NATO treaty, which demands urgent consultations with all
So
member
for
countries.
those of you who may not understand exactly what NATO is, NATO is a collective bargaining agreement between the United States and said European countries like Poland, all right, Finland, Britain, all right, European nations, if you understand, which basically says if you an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. Now, backtrack. In Trump's first term, he had words for NATO saying how they weren't paying their bills. They weren't paying their fair share of what it takes to be a part of NATO. That the United States was basically footing the bill for everything. And NATO had a problem with that. Trump's mindset is that he don't really care for them European countries. He wants to make America great again, as he stated many occasions, right? So Putin understands that. Putin knows that about Trump. Putin knows that Trump don't give a damn about them European countries like that. Trump is more enamored with Putin Vladimir and how he is in a dictator moxie type of attitude. You understand? He more enamored with him than he care about damn NATO. So what did Putin do? Putin said, I'm gonna try his ass. I'm gonna try him. Let me fly some stuff over there into Polish airspace. Let me violate the NATO treaty. Let me get him to let me provoke him. You understand? Let me provoke him and see what he gonna do. You understand? This is all lining up with prophecy. Watch, I'm gonna show you. Watch this.
The Polish prime minister is saying this is the closest we have been to war since World War II. Now, this is not only, our primary concern is we don't want anybody hurt. We don't want anybody killed. By the way, the death toll in this Russian invasion of Ukraine has reached completely unconscionable numbers. I mean, just dwarfing anything going on globally since 2022. And there is, after the humanitarian concern, a foreign policy concern, a domestic concern, a NATO concern. This is the kind of crisis that NATO was created to address. The whole point of NATO is collective defense,
See that
shared
the whole point of
deterrence.
NATO is collective defense, right? So an attack on one of NATO's members is an attack on NATO, right? So the United States has been put in a position where they have to they either got to say the hell with NATO or they got to defend NATO, right? And Trump knows this. He understands this, right? It's the average Negro that don't understand it, right? Now watch this. Let's go to the Bible. Let's get some prophecy. All right, let's go to Second Esdras, chapter 15. Let's understand what a position Trump is being put in, right? Second Esdras 15, right? The Lord started in verse 14 saying, woe to the world and to them that dwell therein. Destruction is getting ready to come to the world. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands, right? The Lord said, look, there are going to be wars. Woe to the world, right? It says, and there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power, right? Let's jump down. Let's jump down to verse 20. Matter of fact, let's jump down to verse 39, right? It says, matter of fact, let me see. Let's jump down to verse 40. It says, the great and mighty cloud shall be puffed up full of wrath, and the star is the missile. It says that they may make all the earth afraid, and them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out over every high and eminent place and horrible star. There's going to be bombs being dropped everywhere, fire and hail and flying swords and many waters, that all fields may be full and all rivers with the abundance of great waters. And they shall break down the cities and walls, mountains and hills, trees of the wood and the grass of the meadows and their corn, going into resources being destroyed, right? Not enough because of the bombs and the wars. It says, and they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid. The they is talking about NATO. You understand? The they here is talking about NATO. It says they shall come to her and besiege her. Why are they going to besiege her? What's going to happen that's going to make these nations turn against America? All right, let's go see. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah real quick. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse chapter 51 and verse chapter 50 and verse 41. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 41. What's going to happen that makes all these nations turn against America, NATO in particular? All right. Matter of fact, before we get Jeremiah, all praises to the Most High, let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. Right, Isaiah chapter 14. Let me mark this in my Bible so I don't forget. Isaiah 14 and verse 3. Right? It says, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the bondage wherein thou was made to serve. When we get our liberation, this is what's going to happen. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. See, this verse has to happen in order for this verse to take place. Verse 4 has to happen in order for verse 3, 2, and 1 to happen. You understand? It says, thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how have the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord have broken the staff of the wicked. What's a staff? A staff is support. The staff of the wicked is the support of the wicked, right? The support of the wicked is Esau. You understand? According to the book of Malachi, chapter 1, the wicked is Esau. His support is leaving him every day. Nobody respects Trump. The people in America don't respect Trump. Hell, his own circle probably really don't respect him. They probably just there for a job, really. You understand? None of these other nations respect Trump. That's why you just had a meeting of militaries between China, North Korea, uh, Russia, and they even invited India to the party. You understand? They don't support, they don't like Trump. Nobody respects him, right? Why? It says, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, right? He smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindered. So he's been smoting these nations with a continual stroke. Terror, sanction. Oh, we coming in and we taking over your government. We coming in and we taking over your resources. We coming in and we taking over your land. You understand? They say he that ruled the nations in anger, right? And it's now he's gonna be persecuted and none hindered. Nobody's gonna stop it. Nobody is gonna stop it. Right? So let's go now. Let's go back. Let's go back to Jeremiah 50. So we're gonna get some more on that in Isaiah 14. Let's go to Jeremiah 50 and 41. Right? These nations are getting ready to turn on America, in particular, the NATO nations. It says, behold, a people shall come from the north, a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. The north country is America, a great nation. You see, they prophesying their own downfall. Let's make America great again. They the ones in the Bible who the Lord talking about, right? It says, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. They shall hold the bow and the lance. They are cruel and will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, meaning it's a lot of different peoples here, and they shall ride upon horses, everyone put in array like a man to the battle against the old daughter of Babylon. Right? They're gonna have all these nations turning on them. It says the king of Babylon have heard the report of them. When you listen to Trump after that incident, and I'm gonna try to show you some videos of it. After that incident took place with Trump, he was scared as hell. Scared as hell. He been scared. You understand? But he got so much pride that he won't stop. He will not stop with the sanctions, the trade embargoes. He wants the tariffs. Trump is a businessman. He's not capable of running a country and it being a success. He know how to run businesses. You see, on Wall Street, when you say, well, I'm going to raise the price to whatever we selling you, people are, oh gosh, all right, you got a deal. They do that on Wall Street. When you do that to countries, you piss countries off. When you talk about cutting off resources to countries, that's the kind of thing that start wars. They're not gonna say, oh shucks, hell, you got a deal. They're not gonna do that. He trying to take the same philosophy and ideas that he had on Wall Street and in real estate to the war room. And that's what's going to cause them to rise up against Babylon. It says the king of Babylon have heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pains as a woman in travail. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Judah into the habitations of the strong. But I will make them suddenly run away from her. And who is a chosen man that I may appoint over her? See, the Lord chose this devil to be appointed over Babylon, right? It said, but chiefly here is going into Yahweh of Israel. It says, for who is like me, and who will appoint me the time, and who is that great shepherd that will stand before me? It says, therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he have taken against Babylon and his purposes, that he have purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. The least of the flock is gonna be who draws the United States out into World War III, right? You got schools of thought saying that that's Amalek, right? It could, on a sense of NATO, Poland is a small country. They got a lot of money, but Poland is a small country. They one of the smallest countries in NATO. You understand? They could be very well who draw the United States out. And Ukraine has been drawing them out. You understand? Typically, chiefly is talking about Amalek because this whole thing has got to do with them wanting to fight against the Palestinians, right? Ukraine saying, "Hey, we need help." You got nations in NATO that don't like the fact that we helping Israel fight against the Palestinians. So what, they divided on their agendas. It says, "Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations." So it's telling you, when the Lord destroys Babylon, the earth is gonna be moved. What's gonna move? What's got an effect enough to make it look like the whole earth has been moved? The ICBM missile, the ICBM missile, right? Watch this. Let's go to. Let me get this other video real quick. Hold on. Yeah, let's get this in. Let's get this on YouTube real quick. EU chief warns Putin. Yeah, this the one. All right, so this is fair use. I don't own this video. It's for educational right purposes only. Fair use.
Watch how
So you
butter
see,
affects love
EU chief
handles.
warns Putin after Poland drone strike. NATO response next. So that they have to respond, right? You heard the Edomites say they've drawn Article 4 of the NATO agreement, which means, look, there's been an attack on one of us. We got to come and talk about this. The next, once they come talk about it, and it's in the claim that they making of the attack has been substantiated, meaning that's what happened. It actually took place. The next thing to do is pull Article 5. And Article 5 is a declaration of war. You understand? Watch this. This is what they saying.
The reason butter is called butter is because
we simply cannot wait for this
When they
storm
say
to
wait,
pass.
they mean wait on the United States to say, okay, let's do it. They saying we can't wait on them, right? Because they looking at it like, look, the proximate, let's look at it. Let me show you. Let's get a map. See that? NATO and Russia are in close proximity along Russia's western border, particularly with the addition of new member states like Finland in 2023 and Sweden in 2024. Right? Let's look at some images. Right? You got to understand, like, what this looks like geographically. Man, where the map at, man? Can't really hold on. Trying to show y'all a good map, man. Let me see if this one works. It ain't letting me zoom in like I want, man. Hold on. All right. So this one over here is pretty good, right? So you got Russia is all of this. Russia is huge. You understand? The NATO members are these red countries. These are the NATO members: Norway, Denmark, Germany, Czech Republic, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland. Right? Let me try to blow this one up. Maybe it'll let me blow this one. You see that? The Baltic states fear that NATO is being complacent. That's the same exact thing that this Edomite is talking about on that video. Every time I click on it, it won't show the map, right? But hopefully you can understand how close they are in proximity to Russia. Russia looking at it like all this supposed to be Russia. All of that's supposed to be mine. You understand? So listen to this Edomite.
This summer showed us that there is simply no room or no time for nostalgia. Battle lines for a new world order based on power are being drawn right now.
The most powerful countries are showing their power. You got China linking, you got BRICS already formed, right? China, Russia, I want to say that's Brazil, right? India. Iran, I think, is in BRICS as well, right? So you got the battle lines being drawn, right? Countries that used to say they wasn't strong enough, now they saying, hey, we can take on the U.S., right? Let me get that precept. Let the weak say I am strong. Yep, Joe, I thought it was Joel. Joel 3. Let's go to Joel chapter 3 real quick. Matter of fact, do it over here. Joel chapter 3. Right? It says, beat your plowshares. And matter of fact, let's start at 9. It says, proclaim you this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, meaning y'all was at a time of peace. Y'all was in a little state of peace in the world. Y'all finna get ready to turn up and get ready for war. It says, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. The Lord is going to put the spirit into these small countries, these countries with these little militaries compared to America, to say, hey man, we can fight you. We could fight you. That's like you got a little bitty 5'6" dude thinking that he can beat up a 7-footer. He just turned up he done hit that dope. Now he think he can just beat this dude. The Lord done put a spirit on these people to come up and fight. It say, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither, because thy mighty ones, cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Right? Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about. So they gotta come. They gotta come, right? Let's go back to the video. They don't have a choice. I'm gonna show y'all another video too. Watch this.
So yes, Europe must
See that?
fight.
You got the woman up here saying Europe must fight. She's saying, look, we got to fight. This is a response to Putin. She's saying, the hell with it, we going to World War III. Whether the United States want to help us or not. You understand?
For its place in the world, in which many major powers are either ambivalent or openly hostile to Europe.
Ambivalent meaning they act like they don't care. They act like they don't care about Europe. That's Trump. She talking about, you got to read between the lines of what she's saying. She said, well, we got to show that we willing to fight, whether people act like they don't care about us or they openly hostile, meaning Putin. You directly attacking us.
A world of imperial ambitions and imperial wars. A world in which dependencies are ruthlessly weaponized.
Dependencies are ruthlessly weaponized. Who they been dependent on? The United States. They've been dependent on us. Trump has said, look, you finna stop being dependent on us. Y'all finna pay some of these bills. Y'all finna, Trump doing things so that the United States make money. He's a businessman. The United States is a business, but it's a country. You can't run it like a man. I learned something when I was in the streets a long time ago, bro. And it's that you cannot try to make all the money. You can't try to make all the money. Even if you're capable of doing that, that's what starts wars. You gotta let other countries make money. You gotta let other little people who trapping make they little. You gotta let them make all they little money too. You gotta let them bring in what they can bring in, because when it's all said and done, if everybody look up and see, oh, he the reason why I ain't making no money, get yourself ready for war. You finna be in a war. You can't operate like McDonald's or Burger King or Walmart. You can't do that. Competition is necessary in business. You understand? It's monopolies are not good for business. Monopolies are not good for business. Any business person, somebody that study business, a monopoly is not good, because it don't nobody want only one product from one company, from one source. They want to be able to compare. Shoppers want to be able to compare the product from this company, the product from that company. Think about it like this. If all you could get was Reebok Classics, what you think gonna happen to shoe sales? They're gonna go down, because like people gonna say, well, all I can get is a Reebok Classic, or all I can get is an Air Force One. The shoe sales are gonna go down. Versus if you got Air Force One, Reebok Classic, Jordans, Adidas, designer shoes, the sale of shoes is going to be up, because people feel like they got a variety. Well, America has tried to become a monopoly, and that's not good for them. That's not good for the business of America. That's why now you see the stock of America going down, the demand in America going down. First, even though they saying Trump like America's the hottest country, no, it ain't. Your country falling apart in your face, right? Americans are sick of America. Other nations are sick of America, right? Nope, this place is falling apart. So this lady here, what she telling us, she like, look, you got countries that don't give a damn about Europe, and you got countries that's attacking Europe. No matter what, we got to stand up for ourselves. We got to stop being dependent on America.
weaponized. I must say I've lost count of the number of times that I was told that Europe could not do this and could not do that in the pandemic, on the recovery plan, on defense, on supporting Ukraine, on energy security, and the list goes on. Every time Europe stood united and made it. And we need to do the same now. So, honourable members, the central question for us today is a simple one. Does Europe have the stomach to fight? Do we have the unity and the sense of urgency, the political will and the political skill to compromise? Or do we just want to fight between ourselves, be paralyzed by our divisions? That is what all of us have to answer.
She just said what Joel 3:10 said. Let the weak say I'm strong. She basically provoked the EU and said, look, what you do we not got the balls to fight? Do we not have the testicular fortitude? You got a woman standing up here saying this to a bunch of men. You understand? That's supposed to be running the country. Do we not have the testicular fortitude to defend ourselves? She just called them out. You understand? The weak saying I am strong. She just motivated them, right?
Honourable members, this war needs to end with a just and lasting peace for Ukraine. Because Ukraine's freedom is Europe's freedom. The images in Alaska were not easy to digest. But just a few days later, European leaders came to Washington to support President Zelensky and secure commitments. Real progress has been made since then. And just today we have seen a reckless and unprecedented violation of Poland and Europe's airspace by more than 10 Russian Shahid drones. Europe stands in full solidarity with Poland.
So they like, and then what you got to think, why you listen to this woman accent. English is not her first language. She don't normally speak English. She speak another language. Why you think she's speaking English? Because she want America to hear. She want Trump to understand. She's speaking to Trump without speaking to him, right? That's how she being what you call passive aggressive. You understand? You gotta look whether the United States want to think it's fitting, because what Trump been saying, that's a Europe problem. He been saying all this stuff with Ukraine and all. Trump ain't for protecting Ukraine. He don't want to do that. His whole thing was that Biden should have never started sending no weapons to Ukraine. That's his whole stance. Biden should have never started even sending weapons to help Ukraine, right? He's telling us, he's telling the world, hey, that's a Europe problem. That's not an American problem. She like, look, the hell with America. If y'all don't want to protect Poland, we gonna protect Poland. So the mindsets and the attitudes are shifting for America as we speak, right? They standing up, standing ovation.
Putin's message is clear, and our response must be clear too. And this is why I can also announce that Europe will front-load 6 billion euros from the air alone and enter into a drone alliance with Ukraine.
Yeah. America don't want that. She like, the hell with America. We in direct opposition to what America's saying they want to do. We gonna give Ukraine more weapons so that they can defend themselves, right? Trump say that this is a Europe problem. We gonna fix it, which is gonna draw America out Either they gonna so understand the position that America is in. Putin been playing chess this whole time, not checkers. You understand? He know America's stupid. He know how stupid Trump is. He like, look, I know you don't like NATO. I know you with NATO. Let me attack NATO and see what you gonna do. Nothing. That's gonna make NATO leave you and not trust you. They ain't with you no more after that. Everybody in America want to isolate them, everybody in the world want to isolate America and have them standing on their own, have them out there on an island by themselves with no help, right? So that they can attack it. And it be easy. It's easy for the world to attack America when they ain't got to worry about nobody coming through the back door and attacking them, right?
Ukraine has the ingenuity. What it needs now is scale. And together we can provide it so that Ukraine keeps its edge and Europe strengthens its own. Mesdames et messieurs les députés.
Ladies and gentlemen,
in her language. You understand? She talked in English that whole time for a reason.
members of parliament, Putin's war economy will continue even if the war stops. This means that Europe must be ready to take on the responsibility for its own security. Of course, NATO will always be essential, but only a strong and credible European defense posture can ensure our security.
See that? So the weak saying that they strong. NATO getting ready to turn their backs on America, right? Now watch this. Let me go to where I want to go to now. Let me go to Revelation real quick. Revelation chapters, I want to say it's 17. Yeah, Revelation chapter 17 and verse 15. See, the Bible is going to speak, man, in these last days. There's nothing that they can do to stop it from happening. Nothing that nobody can do. That's why we've been saying on the highways and byways, whether you hear or forbear, whether you believe it or not, these prophecies are going to come to pass, right? It says, Revelation 17 and 15, it says, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples. To sit on something is to oppress it. You understand? They've been oppressing peoples and multitudes and nations. That's what they've been doing. That's what we read in Isaiah 14. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, the 10 horns is the EU. You understand? The people who just spoke, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God have put into their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree. You see them folks standing up and clapping? They agree. They don't agree with the United States. It says, and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. They said, okay, we gonna be with NATO, but as far as they concerned, NATO finna be just NATO without America. They agreed to give their kingdom unto the beast, America, for a time, for a dispensation of time. Now the words of God have been fulfilled. They finna turn on them. It says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, Babylon the Great. You understand? Now, watch this. Let me show you this real quick. Let me get this other video. I want you to see Trump's posture. Oh Let me see something real quick. Yeah. I don't own this, fair use. I don't own video, fair use.
This is the quickest way to clear out stuck poop.
The number one food.
I thought the easiest one was going to be Ukraine and Russia.
But the problem is really Vladimir Putin. You talked to him in Alaska.
Yeah, I did.
He has
I'm
picked up the pace of the bombing.
Look, there's tremendous hatred between him and Zelensky. Tremendous. It's I've seen it before.
But Zelensky says I'm
seen...
coming to the table.
Well,
Zelensky
now he does. No, now
True.
he does. He wasn't coming to the table so quickly. You remember the famous...
So has your patience run out with Putin?
Yeah, it's sort of running out and running out fast.
You didn't even really want to... That ain't politically correct for him to say that. The Lord made him say it. Yeah, my patience is running thin with Putin. Putin don't give a damn about your patience.
Let's take two to tango. It's amazing. When Putin wants to do it, Zelensky didn't. When Zelensky wanted to do it, Putin did. Now Zelensky wants to, and Putin is a question mark.
Why is the Lord making it so that they can't agree to bring peace into the world, right? Let's go to the book of Matthew real quick. I mean, not Matthew, Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 16. Why is it that when one agree, the other one don't agree, right? Proverbs 16:1. The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. The Lord is making them say, oh, I agree, and this one say, no, I don't want peace. Then this one say, I want peace, and then this one say, I want war, right? He trying to play the position of God. You understand? The Lord is in control of the preparations of the thoughts and the answer of the tongue, right? Let's get another one. Let's go to Proverbs 21 and verse 1. Right? It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. You understand? He got Putin's mind in his control. He got Zelensky's mind in his control, and he got Trump's mind in his control. Right? He got all of this in his control. Let's go back to the video.
But we're going to have to come down very, very strong. It's the only one. This is the one, because I've always had a great relationship with Putin. This is the only war that I haven't solved. Now, let's get into Gaza, because that's another one. So those are two that are.
Before you move on, can I ask you,
complex.
what is clamping down on Vladimir Putin?
Well, it'll be hitting very hard with sanctions.
That's the only thing he understands. Business. Trump don't understand fighting. He don't understand war. Look, Putin is rich already, man. That country is rich already. They don't need America. That's why he done clicked up with China, who making everything for America. That's why he done clicked up with them. That's why they done said, the hell with this dollar. We got gold. We got real money. See, the only thing this man understands is business. He only understands how to raise the price and lower the price. He don't understand fighting. You understand? That's why he getting himself into some. That's why I say you can raise the price and do stuff like that in the boardroom in Wall Street. But when you do it in the streets, that's what get people killed. Right?
Banks and having to do with oil and tariffs also. But I've already done it. I've done a lot.
I've already done it. I've done a lot. That's not going to work. They don't give a damn about that.
India was their biggest customer. I put a 50% tariff on India because they're buying oil from Russia. That's not an easy thing to do. That's a big deal. And it causes a rift with India.
That's why India was at that meeting with China, Russia, and North Korea, because they like, hell, the United States I'm finna go the hell with the United States. I go around the middle, man, and go straight to Russia. If the tariffs and stuff like that only work when you dealing with the US dollar. That's why they created the International Monetary Fund. I don't see how you can't see that this is the devil the Bible speaks of that rule the whole earth. They control what money is worth. What they was, they ain't no more. That's that power leaving them. That's why the Lord say, "Thou art fallen, O Lucifer." Right? They leave their kingdom in their heaven is crumbling around them.
Remember this. This is a
See
Europe
that?
problem,
This is a
much
Europe
more than.
problem. That's what you don't think them people in the EU, the European Union, that's why she talking like that. That's why she's saying the stuff she's saying. Because Trump, like, this is a Europe problem. It's not an American problem. The NATO mean y'all supposed to all stand together. But they don't keep their agreements.
This is a Europe problem, much more than our problem. The other thing I've done, Brian, and I know how you feel very strongly about it, and I understand a lot of people do, a lot of people don't, frankly. But we were spending $350 billion on a war that was across the ocean. Europe was spending $100 billion. It's still a lot of money, but it should have been equalized, at least equalized, or they should have spent more. But I did something. As you know, I went to NATO, great relationship with all of those NATO countries, and I got them to raise from 2% to 5%.
I got them to pay more money from 2% to 5%. But he breaking the tree. Let me get this precept, right? Let me go to the book of Psalms, chapter 55. See, this is what he don't understand, man. When you give somebody your word, when you make an agreement, they expect you to keep it. You understand? Not just switch up all the time. That's an Edomite mindset, right? Psalms 55 and verse number 20. Matter of fact, 20. It says, he have put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. NATO was the collective of countries that they said they was at peace with. Now he putting sanctions on them. India was with America. Now he putting sanctions on them. It says he have broken his covenant. Right? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. You understand? The Lord said, look, this man is a cut. That's what he did with the so-called Native Americans. Every treaty that they made with us, they broke it. And he doing the same thing with his own people, right? He smoting the nations with a continual stroke. He oppressing them.
And then I got them to pay for anything all of our costs now are being paid by NATO. So NATO
paying all the costs. So NATO, like, if we paying for all this stuff, then we don't need America for defense of what? They ain't even willing to protect us.
They're rich countries, and they're now paying. We're sending missiles and things to NATO. NATO's paying us, and they're distributing to where they want, which is, in this case, Ukraine.
Mr. President.
Which is a big saving. That's a big difference. We're not spending.
All he can understand is the money, the business. And he gonna say it ain't about money, but it is about money. That's the only way. He's a businessman. He's a real estate developer. So he's just looking at it like we're saving money. He don't understand the war that he getting ready to bring on himself.
You know what I want to do? Yeah. I want to stop it for a different reason. Because now, I guess you could say we make money. I don't want to make money, but we're making money but I want to stop because they're losing 6,000 to 7,000 soldiers every single week. And they're not American soldiers. They're Russian and Ukrainian soldiers. And some people in the towns. But the big numbers are the soldiers. They're losing. Last week, they lost 7,018 soldiers. A little bit more Russia than Ukraine. But they both, they've lost 1.5 million soldiers fighting back and forth. I want to stop it on a human basis. Their souls. They're Russian souls. They're Ukraine. They're not American. Yeah. But I just feel I have an obligation to do it.
Yeah.
I'm Steve Doocy.
He feel like he got an obligation to do it because the Lord making him do it. The Lord making him be in opposition to the things he's in opposition to, right? He don't have no control over it. He don't have no control over it at all, right? Watch this. Let me get this other precept in Revelation. United States want to play police, world police. Hold on, let me see real quick. Matter of fact, Revelation 18. And verse 'Matter of fact, I think it might be in Second Ezra. Let me go to Second Ezra real quick. So you can kind of see, Lord willing, you can see, right, how America is making the decisions and the choices for its own allies to not even be with them, to not even stand with them, right? It's escaping me right now. Matter of fact, let me show y'all this other video. It's a lot going on, man, in the news, man. We didn't have real-time prophecy the other day, but I guess you could say we having it now, right? So let's look at this. Let's go to YouTube real quick, because there's so much going on in Second Ezra chapter 15. It's all happening. It's all happening at one time. Arab world, including Iran, Saudi Arabia, unites against, hold on. So fair use, I don't own this video. Fair use is for educational purposes only.
Welcome to college football in the ACC.
The Gulf is very angry. This time, Saudi Arabia is stepping right into the storm after Israel's shocking strike in Doha, where Hamas political leaders were targeted. The phone lines between Riyadh and Doha lit up. Saudi Crown Prince Mr. Mohammed bin Salman personally spoke with Emir of Qatar, sending a very clear message that the kingdom stands firmly with Qatar. Saudi Arabia did not mince words. It calls Israel's attack a criminal violation of sovereignty and warns that if such attacks continue, there will be grave consequences.
So what's going on is you got Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Palestine all joining together to fight against Israel. They all joining together, right? They said that if they continue to do this, there's going to be a problem, right? Listen to it.
Now, this is no ordinary condemnation that we're talking about. It is Saudi Arabia, the most powerful Arab state, showing its full support in defense of its neighbor. Remember, just a few weeks ago, Riyadh and Doha were on opposite sides.
See that? Just a few weeks ago, Saudi Arabia, Palestine, they weren't clicked up the way that they are now. The Lord done put it in their heart to do what they doing. He done put it on their spirit to say, hey, we the same people. We brothers. We the same nation at the end of the day. We all Ishmaelites, right?
Locked in a bitter blockade But Israel's strike has changed the game now. Old rivalries are being buried and new unity is emerging in the Arab world. And Saudi Arabia is not alone here. Be it Iran, be it Turkey, be it the UAE, they have all rolled in to condemn the attack. This is rare, right? When countries that often compete with each other are all of a sudden speaking in one voice.
See that? Speaking in one voice, man. Now let's see where that line up in prophecy. You see that? It's a lot going on right now. Let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter. Let me start at verse 27. It says, "For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them." The Lord talking about his people. Israel is gonna, even though the plagues are coming, they're gonna remain. They're not gonna be to take his people out, right? It says, "For God shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him." It says, "Because in horrible vision." It says, "Behold, in horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east." Right? So he's saying there's gonna be some war and destruction coming from the east. Right? So like in verse 27, he's going into these nations in the world, right? "For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them, for God shall not deliver you, because you have sinned against him." Right? It says, "Behold, in horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia," that's Saudi Arabia, "shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, and that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmenians raging in wrath shall go forth." The Carmenians are the Iranians. That's the ancient name for the Iranians. They're gonna join. That's why the lady just said this is rare, right? We don't usually see countries that normally would compete with each other joining in arms together to say, "Hey, we brothers." Right? This is what the Bible talking about. Also the Carmenians raging, because why they raging? They seeing how Israelis are blowing up little kids, blowing up hospitals, right? They seeing these images of blood splattered neighborhoods of their people, right? That's why they're raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. We just looked at a video of the prelude to what we reading. Them join in battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. The land of the Assyrians is the land where the Israelis are living right now, so-called Israel, right? That's the land of the Assyrians. It says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand. So we can tell you exactly how this is gonna go down, exactly the order of which is gonna go down. First, you're gonna have Israel get destroyed. They're gonna destroy a great portion of that land. The Saudi, the Ishmaelites, if you understand, are gonna destroy a great portion of that land. Right? That's what's gonna happen next. Right? After that, that's when you're gonna have the EU turn against the United States. They're gonna turn their back on the United States. They already doing that, and they're gonna burn this place with fire, like it says in the book of Revelations. It says, "Then shall the dragons have the upper hand." That's Saudi Arabia, remembering their nature. "And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled, bled, and keep silence through their power shall flee." So there's going to be a certain, after they destroy Israel, it's going to be a certain dispensation of time where you don't hear nothing from them. They're going to be silent in their power. Right? Now let's go back to Isaiah 14. Let's go back to Isaiah 14 where we was at. Right? It says, verse 5, "The Lord have broken the staff of the wicked." Esau is the wicked. It says, "And the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger." Ain't he been ruling these nations in anger? You just heard him on the news talking about sanctions. talking about uh uh terrors. It say it's persecuted and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. When this devil get destroyed, the whole earth gonna be at rest. Right? Let's jump down to verse 12. It says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? See, they heaven was been since they been ruling this earth. Now they fallen from it. It says, son of the morning, how art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations. Right? This ain't no spirit running around here with a tail and a pitchfork, man. This is a man that's going around weakening the nations. It says, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will put a space station up there. I'm going to put a rocket and send it up into space. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Remember, to sit is to oppress. To sit on something is to oppress it. Right? So they saying, I'm going to sit upon the mount of the congregation. Right? Let me get that real quick. He said, I'm going to sit upon the mount of the congregation. Right? Let's go to the book of Psalms 74. What's the congregation of the Lord? Psalm 74 and verse 2. Right? Remember thy congregation, which thou hast purchased of old, the rod of thine inheritance, which thou hast redeemed, this Mount Zion. So Mount Zion is the congregation wherein thou hast dwelt. You understand? That's the congregation of the Lord. Right? Let's go to Zechariah real quick. 2. It says, let me jump down. All right, verse 7, it says, deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. The daughter of Babylon is Esau. It says we're going to be dwelling with them, meaning they're going to be the ones ruling over us. You understand? It says, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. Right? Sitting on you, oppressing you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. Right? So the Lord getting up with them about that. Right? Let's go back to Isaiah 14. It says in verse 13 again, thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, which is Israel, the real Israel, in the sides of the North America. You understand? So chiefly here is where the Israelites have been being oppressed, being sat on. It says, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Right? Ain't they trying to be like the Most High? Trying to create artificial organs to make people live forever? Didn't the Lord say, I'm going to make man's years 120 years because of the sin of Adam? I don't want you to live forever. Esau say, nah, I'm going to create something to make you do it anyway. Right? It says, verse 15, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, into captivity, to the sides of the pit, that they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee. So the Lord say, you going into captivity. Right? You going into captivity. Right? Let's jump down. All right, let's go down to verse 25. Right? Because I said something in 2nd Esdras. Right? Let me go back there real quick. I said something in 2nd Esdras. I said that the Assyrians that it's talking about is the so-called Amalekites, right? The Israelis, if you understand. It says, verse verse 30. It says, also the Carmenians, this is 2nd Esdras 15 and 30. Also the Carmenians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with the great power shall they come and join in battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Right? So how do we know that that's talking about the Israelis, right? The Amalekites. Let's go to Isaiah now. Isaiah 14 and verse 24. It says, the Lord of hosts hath sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass. The way that I've written it in this Bible is exactly the way it's going to unfold. Nothing can stop prophecy from coming to pass. It says, and as I have purposed, so it shall stand, right? That I will break the Assyrian in my land. Who's in the land right now claiming that it's their land, right? Who is that? Let's go to the book. Matter of fact, let's go to Isaiah. Let's show you who's in the land saying that it's their land. All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 34 real quick. Matter of fact, that's a good one too. Hold on. Who is in the land right now? Part of my land. Oh, Slakia. Yeah, Joel. Let's go to Joel. We're going to come back to this Isaiah 34. Let's go to Joel real quick. Joel chapter 3 and verse 2. All right. It says, I'm going to start at 1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also get at the same time that I'm going to save and gather my people that's been in captivity. It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? Where the Euphrates River has been dried up at. It says, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. You understand? They have took the land of the Lord and said it was theirs, right? Let me get this precept real quick. These two nations shall be mine. Right? The book of Ezekiel, chapter 35. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 10. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse 7. It says, thus I will make Mount Esau most desolate and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. Right? Esau's going to get cut off. It says, and I will fill his mountains with slain men in thy hills and in thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. And I will make thee a perpetual desolation, and thy city shall not return. And ye shall know that I am the Lord, not them. Yahweh is the Lord, right? It says, because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord was there, right? So they possessing chiefly this going into what? Northern kingdom and southern kingdom, the two nations that they said will be theirs and that they're going to possess. And they also going into the land, the actual land mass of northern kingdom and southern kingdom, saying we going to possess it, whereas the Lord was there. They acting like the Lord is there right now. Why they selling kosher cigarettes, right? Why they saying promoting all type of sin and madness, saying that it's allowed, saying that you can worship whatever God you want to worship in the land, as if the Lord was there, right? It says, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord God, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. So they're going to know that it's the Lord judging them, right? For what? It says, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies. Blasphemies is lies. Saying you Israel when you ain't. You understand? Passing a Balfour Declaration to say you can go into our land and say that it's yours, which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying they are laid desolate. They are given to us to consume. You see, they said, look, we desolate. They like, look, they destroyed now. They don't even know who they are. Right? We done took the shackles off them, and they don't even know that they Israels. They think they African Americans. They think they Native American Indians. They think they Puerto Ricans. They destroyed. It says, and they are given to us to consume. Right? Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me. When they say boasted against the Lord. Then he say, when you touch them, you touching the apple of my eye. It says, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. Thus saith the Lord God, when the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate. Everybody's waiting for these demons to get off the earth, man. To get out the Lord's way. They waiting on it, right? Let's go to Isaiah 34 now. Isaiah chapter 34. In verse 1. Matter of fact, do I want that first? Matter of fact, hold on real quick. Yeah, let's go to Ezekiel 36 before we go here. Ezekiel 36. In verse 5. Right? It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord God, Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, Esau, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart and with the spiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. So they know that's not their land. They know that ain't their land. That's why I say with the spiteful minds, even though despite the fact they know that they ain't the real people, they over there casting it out. And that's what they did with the Balfour Declaration. You understand? It said they have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart. Right? So that's the let's go back to matter of fact, man, all this is good. Oh, this is fire, right? We may get it. We may come back and get it. Let's go back to Isaiah. So we know, now let's read verse 25. The Lord said, whatever I have spoken in verse 24 is going to come to pass. Verse 25, it says that I will break the Assyrian in my land. You see that? The Idumeans are the Assyrians that he's speaking of. Why? Because they got the same characteristics of the Assyrian. They ruthless. You understand? They try to look at the way that the Assyrians ruled over Northern Kingdom, right? They wouldn't let you serve your God. They didn't want you to breed with your own people. They promoted interracial relationships, right? The Lord said, don't do that, right? But they promote these type of things to get you as far away from your identity as you can be, right? It says, I will break the Assyrian in my land, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot, right? Let's go real quick to the book of Luke, chapter 21, in verse 21. How do we know that's talk that they not the real people? That's over there. Luke 21 in verse 24. It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. That happened. You got the transatlantic slave trade, the sub-Saharan slave trade, the Silk Road slave trade. That's when we went into all nations. It says in Jerusalem, the land, after that, after we go into captivity, Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. It means that that's who's gonna live there until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And we living in that part of prophecy right now, where their times are being fulfilled. Their time is almost up. You understand? Their time is almost up. Let's go back to Isaiah. So that's the Assyrian in the land, right? It says, I will break the Assyrian in my land, and meaning Israel is going to the Israelis are going to get destroyed, just like we read in 2nd Esdras, chapter 15, by the Carmenians and the dragons of Arabia. That's who's going to break them. That's who the Lord going to use to break them. They're going to be the screwdriver or the tool that the Most High used to make this prophecy come to pass. And upon my mountains tread him underfoot. Then shall his yoke depart off them. The them is the Ishmaelites, the Arabs nations. Then when he break that, they got a yoke on them right now, right? Meaning what? They have dominion over the Arab nations. He said, when I break them, their yoke is going to be off them, and his burden depart from off their shoulders. This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth. And this is the hand that is stretched out upon all the nations, right? The Lord is doing this. He's causing this to happen. It says, for the Lord of hosts have purpose, and who shall disannul it? You can't vote this away. You can't Congress can't meet and make it go away. You can't sit at the International Monetary Fund. You can't sanction it away. You can't trade embargo it away. It's gonna happen, and his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? Right? You can't turn it back. It says, in the year that King Ahaz died was this burden. This the year that Isaiah seen all this. The Lord showed him this, right? And now it's taking place in 2025. It said, rejoice not thou, whole Palestina. Why? Why would they be rejoicing? We read it in 2nd Esdras 15. Let's go back. It says, verse 31, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand. Why? Because they're going to destroy a portion of the land of the Assyrians, and remembering their nature, and they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Right? So the Lord said, when y'all do that, don't rejoice. Right? Don't rejoice, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, which is a snake, right? The serpent's root. It says, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. So serpents aren't on fire and they don't fly. You understand? That's the way that Isaiah was able to depict it. That's the only way he was able to describe what he's seeing. It looked like a serpent that's on fire and it's flying. What looks like a snake that's on fire, that's got fire coming out of it, and is flying through the air? That's a ICBM missile. That's a bomb, if you understand, right? It says that's what's coming to destroy Palestine, the Arabs, right? Gaza, if you understand. It says, and the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety, and I will kill thy root with famine, and he shall slay thy remnant. How, O gate, cry, O city, thou whole Palestina art dissolved. They're gonna drop a nuke. When the United States see the Israelis get hit like that, they're going to drop a nuke on them. That's why I say dissolve. That's what a nuclear bomb does. Dissolves everything, melts it. For there shall come forth from the north a smoke. The north is where? North America. It ain't gonna say America right there. But if you understand the northern hemisphere, right? It says, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. What shall one then answer the messenger of the nations? right? How you gonna respond to that when it's clear cut? It's talking about y'all that the Lord have founded Zion, the poor of his people shall trust in it, right? The Lord say, I'm gonna make sure that the real Israelites back in their place, back in their city, right? So hopefully you watching, man. Hopefully you paying attention to these prophecies as they unfolding, right? You can literally see 2nd Ezra 15 taking place, Isaiah chapter 14, right? Ezekiel chapter 34 and 36, Revelation chapter 17, verse 15, Joel chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. You can see all these prophecies taking place right before your eyes, man, if you got eyes to see, right? So most high willing, that was edifying and that you got something out of it. All right, it's Brother Nashan, New Wine Congregation of Israel, signing off.